Let's learn about some real estate, maybe the idea of education. And I know in the marketplace where we're at with such minimal amount of inventory, a lot of people are giving up on some of the inalienable rights. Well, maybe they're not inalienable rights. They're things you should be doing, and it's called due diligence. So that's a home appraisal, a home inspection, hazard reports. These are all due diligence. Do you have to act on them? No. But you have to understand them. Yes. Why would you want to go and buy something? It'd be like going and buying a car and not doing anything, a used car, and not knowing that it just came from Louisiana or Florida where it had been in a flood, but they repainted it so it looked good outside. Wouldn't you want a CarMax report to know that, this car may not run for very much longer? Well, home inspections, they might not be like a CarMax report, and they educate you. They tell you what's good, what's bad, what's indifferent, and then there's people like me who have no clue what they're looking at. Oh, those walls look like they're white, but they're hiding flooding behind them. Jeff Clark is with us. Trident Inspection Group is the name of his company. He's going to be the one that gives us that education. Welcome.
Thank you, Ron. Good to be here.
So tell me, how'd you get into this inspection world? You probably went to school for 50 years and got 17 licenses and...
Well, Ron, basically, my motivation for getting into it was I wanted to own a business, right? And I knew I couldn't be on the ladder for my whole life, right? Father time is undefeated.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, how could I take my previous experience and apply it and start my own business? So that was the inception.
What was your previous experience?
Commercial framing, drywall, steel stud framing, tilt-ups, commercial construction.
So were you a contractor or did
No.
you on the front line?
Front line.
Front line. So you were the one that actually did the work.
I did. I knew I couldn't do it forever.
That sounds like hard work too.
It was hard work.
Especially, were you in Southern California at the time?
Yes.
So at least you didn't have to work in snow
or in Vegas.
Or in Vegas, Josh, where it's like 150 degrees out right now. Right. And you get both. So in February, you might get snow, and in summer, you get 150 degrees.
It's just pleasant all year round.
Yeah, this is Southern California. Okay, so let's. So how long have you been doing this then?
Well, Trident is a hybrid from Maven Home Inspection. That was the first company I started. That was probably about 10 years ago. And then Trident has been around because I wanted to start to go into commercial and offer ancillary services like mold and chimney inspections and et cetera. So we started Trident Inspection Group. So that's been going for 4 years now.
So you do all that stuff?
Yes, all that stuff.
So you do mold, chimney, home inspection?
Correct. Commercial and residential.
Commercial. Interesting. I didn't even know that commercial did that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's part of their due diligence process. We just did a couple of big projects last week in City of Orange, which is a 32,000 square foot property. And then Thursday we did a 19,000 square foot property.
So do you focus mostly on commercial or residential or whatever comes up?
Primarily residential.
Okay.
With the commercial capabilities, I guess.
So how do you, when you go do an inspection, I'm probably getting a little ahead of our conversation, but how do you deliver findings?
So the summary review is what you're talking about? Okay.
Is there a summary review? So is there a detailed review and a summary review, or is it
during the process of the inspection, we go around and what I tell my guys is just begin where your feet's at and follow your routine. As you're following your routine, you're starting to inventory and compile all of the information. And so when you go to deliver that at the end with the client, you're going to want to put context to all of your findings. You're going to, depending on which system you're talking about, you're going to want to just talk about where the system's at currently and how.
Now, when you talk about a system, is that an air conditioning system, or is that what is a system? You got to remember, I don't even know how to use a screwdriver.
Copy that. What we're talking about right now would be like, let's say, for example, the HVAC system.
Okay, the air conditioner.
Right. So you have your furnace, whether it
right.
be in the hallway or the attic, and then you have your air conditioner, which is outside and attached to what they call the air handler. So you're going to want to get an idea of what with the year that was made, what the condition is of it, and how it's operating at the time of the inspection. And so when you're talking about these types of things, you're just really wanting to educate them on where the system's at, or where it's at in its life cycle, and what they could expect it. But more importantly, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to document how it's operating at that time. So that way the inspection report becomes like a document so that way it dovetails nicely in with home warranty. Okay.
So this kind of leads us to the home warranty, so that they can say, okay, well, these things all worked when I bought the house and they don't work now.
Correct.
So if there is a home warranty, then there's something to substantiate that it went bad during that term.
Right. And what Trident has done is we put really plain language in there, because home warranty they're a service contract, right? So what they're going to say is, possibly pre-existing condition or whatever the case may be. So they're going to want plain language in there that the unit was working, whether it be the refrigerator, the oven, the garbage disposal, the heating and air conditioning, or whatever system we're talking about. Was the unit working at time of inspection? Very binary, yes or no. And then we also take that one step further and show measurements or infrared or temperature readings to just support that there was working. So that way, if anything should go wrong during that period, the homeowner could reference submit the inspection report, so that way they have proof.
So for somebody like me, I would call that just like a baseline report.
Correct.
When I bought the house, this is what it did. The air conditioner was blowing at 55 degrees or whatever it's supposed to, and now it's blowing at 97 degrees, and it's not cooling my house down. Right. And again, Jeff, I don't understand all this stuff.
That's exactly what we say.
I'm really technical. It's hot.
It's hot.
Damn hot.
That's all they really want to know.
Right.
Is it working?
Is it working? Continue our conversation this morning. We are talking to Jeff Clark, Trident Inspection Group, and we're learning about home inspections. And I'm going to share with you, part of this goes back to the report I just said. What are people doing in order to win bids right now? Well, I'm going to waive my inspection. I'm going to waive my appraisal. I'm going to waive my NHD. I'm going to waive everything. So I'm going to buy something sight unseen, not knowing what the heck I'm talking about. And if you're like me, is the air conditioner working? I don't know. There's air coming out of it. Is the heater working? Well, it's too damn hot for me to even tell. It's 90 degrees outside. So I don't know if the heater's working. Is it working properly? Stuff went down the garbage disposal. I didn't bring a bunch of orange peels with me to see if it's working. That's why you talk to someone like Jeff and his team. Get it done, whether you use it or not. Education doesn't hurt. Bottom line. So we're going to continue our conversation. So one of the things that I'm baffled by is in the inspection world, especially in the state of confusion, like California, there's no licensing requirement to be an inspector?
There's not, Ron. Right. It is. It's not required. There's been a couple of efforts to bring licensing or regulation into the industry, but as of right now, the only thing you really need, which is the most frightening part, is a flashlight and a 3-prong tester, and there's your inspector. So,
and I don't even know what a 3-prong tester is.
That's what you stuck into the
outlets,
right, to test the GFI to make sure there's current there.
Okay.
So that's all that's needed. Right. So it is really a buyer beware type of a situation in whom you're dealing with.
How do I know whether I found a good one or not?
Well, there's a few different ways. You want to obviously speak to your realtor, see who they're using. That would be one avenue.
They should know.
We would hope.
Right.
And then you would check to their references on, whether it be Yelp or Google or one of the other for reviews.
Okay.
And then when you speak to them, you want to ask them, who are you certified through, or talk to them about their education and who are they certified through.
So there is a certification process that one could do that's just not regulated by the state.
Correct.
So what would I look for? What's the certification going to say?
Well, they're going to either have one of probably about 3, right? You have the National Association of Certified Home Inspectors. You have CREA, which is California Real Estate Inspectors Association. And then you have the American Society of Home Inspectors. That's ASHI. So those are the 3 largest bodies of.
Would a company be certified by all of them, or would they be one, or does it matter?
Well, it's just at that point it's just a preference, right? It's just a preference. Tried it is we are certified through the California Association of Realtors, and then we're also certified through INTRNACHI, National Association of Certified Home Inspectors, of which I'm the chapter president in Orange County of. Okay.
Okay.
So it really comes down to the skill sets of each individual inspector as well. I'd say that'd be more important.
So are inspection companies generally a one-man show, or are there multiple inspectors within a company?
Typically, there are a couple of larger companies out there, but your traditional home inspection company is going to be anywhere from, let's say, 1 to 5 inspectors.
And is there a way, are they going to all have the same training? Are they undergoing, or is it, if I call XYZ Acme Inspections, I don't even know if there is one.
Right. Well, when you call Trident, what we require to be part of the Trident team is to maintain 24 hours of ongoing education, plus all of the company provided seminars that we go throughout the year.
So it's like continuing education.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially with the way that homes are developing now and the new construction practices that are taking place. It's very important that you keep your annual education up.
So one of the things I always like to ask for, especially from the inspectors, is once you go through and do all of the inspection work and you come up with your report, do you do if there's repairs needed, do you guys do the repairs also?
We do not. That would be a conflict of interest, right? So what we do is we basically will just provide the information, and then if needed, I have given referrals out, to the agent or to the client on what kind of licensed contractor would be able to, like, for example, the other day I came across an inspection in the city of Carson and did a sewer inspection on that property, and we found a couple of large root intrusions on there. So this was another property.
What's a root intrusion?
A root intrusion is where,
remember, I don't know anything here,
I
Jeff.
get it. So when you have your lateral sewer line, one of the materials used is clay, and the connections there will kind of deteriorate. So root seeking water will come into that connection and migrate in there and create a potential blockage that wouldn't even really be detectable during a normal home inspection, right? Because water will pass through the roots, right? It's not until the buyer actually takes possession and we're using just things are going down the sewer. We all know
things that are going down the sewer that are really fun to talk about.
Correct.
Okay.
So debris, like I said.
Debris, there we go.
After they take possession, then things start to block up and they get a thing, usually about 3 weeks after they take possession of the home. So anyways, we found that root intrusion and we're able to make the appropriate referral to the plumber to address that situation.
And once you got that problem, don't go there. Okay, so now there's the issue. So that's like an easy one, right? Because I mean, that it's not the fact of finding it, because I wouldn't even know about even looking for it, but saying, okay, you got a plumbing problem, you got to call a plumber,
right?
But there's I'm sure there's a lot of things where we don't even know who the right party is to call.
Those are typically revolve around like foundation issues,
right?
That those types of issues. The other last week we were in the city of Orange, and we were doing it near Old Town, and they had a perimeter wall, which is what actually the house sets on, right? On the raised foundation.
Sure.
And that had deteriorated to such an extent that it was imperative that they have that repaired. So before I left there, I had already contacted a repair specialist, a foundation specialist, so that way I could put them two together, at least to give them some solution. Whether they go that route or not, I'm not sure.
So the idea here then again still becomes the same situation, is you want to make sure that they're understanding what their risk is.
Correct.
Right. It's not, I'm assuming it's not your job to say buy it or don't buy it.
Right.
It's basically say, here's the issue, buyer beware, at least now you know.
Right.
And you can call this company that you're recommending or not, and say, okay, well, this is going to cost me X amount of dollars. Now, is the property or is the transaction still something that I want to move forward with in an educated manner?
Correct. Typically, what the feedback that I receive is that exactly for that one that I just used, the foundation issue in the city of Orange, what they were really looking for is, in today's market, people are paying a premium for properties. Right?
Sure, absolutely.
Like you mentioned, they're waiving inspections, they're waiving appraisals, they're waiving loans, all of that. So really what they're doing is that at this time that they want to inventory that property from head to toe and be able to find out what am I actually getting and what is my risk once I take possession of this property, right? Because once they understand what they're going into, because I was telling this gentleman what was going on and he was familiar with it, so it wasn't that he wasn't that shocked by it, but what he wanted to know is what's it going to take to fix this.
Sure, that makes sense. We're going to continue our conversation with Jeff Clark when we come back. Trident Inspection Group. We're going to find out how Trident is different from others, and we might even be able to get story time with Jeff when we come back. Continue our conversation this morning. Jeff Clark is with us, Trident Inspection Group. We're going to see how much more we can get in here and learning from Jeff today. So, Jeff, I want to find out, when we do a home inspection, as a consumer, what's my takeaways going to be?
Well, Ron, at the end of every inspection, we want to take the time. Let me just back up a little bit. They always ask me, what's the most consistent thing I see at a home inspection?
Right.
Everybody wants to know what's the most consistent thing. And that is a stressed out buyer.
That makes sense.
So really what we want to do from the moment we show up is we want to align with them, find out and bring them into the conversation, see what's important to them. So that way we're just lowering that anxiety because we really want them to
It's a scary time.
It is a very scary time.
Spending $500,000 or $1 million. I mean, it's worrisome.
It is.
Right? I mean,
it is.
And we don't do it all the time. You're out there inspecting houses all day, every day.
All day, every day.
And, I'm helping folks in financing. I do a little radio here and there. But the consumer's buying a house every 10, 12 years now.
Correct. So really what I tell the philosophy that I keep, this may be my 1,000th inspection, but this is their first home. So I have to bring that same energy each time that I show up on site. So when we go over at the end of we invite them into the space if they want. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But at the end, what we want to do is just do a walk and talk and let them know that our standard is really perfection. And then we make adjustments on that because that we want them to understand that we're there to find defects.
Sure.
Right. We're there that's our job.
Right.
So we want to put this in context so that way they understand. And when they're looking at the report, they don't freak out or say, oh my God, this house is falling apart. So what we do is we do the main takeaways. Right. And then from there, we walk around the property, whether it be deteriorated wood or if they have an older furnace or if their water heaters knock in or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
We want to have them put eyes on it and then have a discussion about it. So that way we want to put the light, sunlight's a good sanitizer, right?
Sure.
So we want to have them interact with whatever it is, explain to them how it may have gotten there, put some context to it. So that way it starts to make sense to them and then pivot right into solution.
Okay, so am I going to get a report of some sort or documentation to walk away, or do I have to take notes when we're going through all this?
No, I'd say all inspection companies are going to have the ability to generate a digital report that'll be able to print to PDF. So our report's going to have the full report, which is going to have valuable information on there, such as like data plates, and that's where the model number and serial numbers are, and the age that it was built, and things like that for water heaters and again furnaces and air conditioning.
Oh, okay. So it's going to tell me when they're built, so I can get an idea. Yeah, I got a 40-year-old water heater, so I might be thinking about buying a new one
real soon. So it's going to have that type of information. What type of roof do they have? Is it tile, composition, shingle, etc.? It also has information that they may need at a future date for purposes like insurance or whatever the case is. So, and then also we include a summary report, which basically pulls out the major items there. So that way it's at a glance. And a lot of the agents use that to build their requests for repairs.
So it's going to tell me basically the things. Hey, these are for again somebody like me that knows nothing about construction or how these things work. It's going to say, hey, big red flag. Hey, watch out for this.
Correct. Our report, the way that we generate our report is we make maintenance recommendations in there, and those items are under blue under maintenance recommendations, right? And then orange are maybe for material defect or something that's wrong that needs to be attention that may be a little bit outside of a do-it-yourself category. And then we have health and safety, which those are clearly flagged as red.
Okay. So now the health and safety that you come up with are probably going to be very similar to what the appraiser might find.
Correct.
Because they're health and safety issues that can inhibit a loan of some sort.
Right. And that's one of the things that we do if we're showing up before the appraisal.
Tony likes your reports. I mean, she must know you or something. Jeffrey's reports are great, she says.
Yeah. We try to make them pretty user friendly. If we get there before the appraisal, or just in general period, we want to make sure that the the water heater's strapped up and it has all of these smoke detectors and carbons in the appropriate locations. And so
That's always good, so the appraiser doesn't have to come back again.
correct.
Save a little money there.
Correct.
Do you do a one of the things I've talked about many times is almost like, you get a certified pre-owned car. So is there something that's done like an appraisal that's done before, that a seller might do, just so that the seller knows what's going on?
That's a great question, and that was I've really been pushing for that type of awareness, especially in today's market. I really encourage those who are thinking about selling to have that pre-listing inspection done, so that way they can get ahead of any major. That way you have a smoother transaction. You are able to not be so reactive if you do need to correct something during contingency periods or during the contract part.
Sure.
So it just really behooves somebody, if they think the property has some issues in it, or maybe it's an investment property they haven't owned in a while, it's a good way to get ahead of any potential issues and show good faith and due diligence on their part.
Well, the other thing that I would look at is I like what your thought there, the due diligence up front. And again, if you got a probate, that might be a good idea because you haven't lived there. But the other part of it is that if I'm selling my property and I have you do an inspection, and I know that you do quality work, you come highly recommended, the buyer's inspector may come around and not do as much quality work. And now they come up and they say, well, this needs to be repaired. It's a red flag. And you said, well, no, it wasn't when I did it. And now I've kind of like, I'm not using my wife's divorce attorney, right? I've got my own individual looking at it.
That's fair. You always, if there is an inspection that's done, a pre-listing inspection, or maybe one falls out of escrow and they present an inspection for you, you just want to take a look at it and while you're walking around the property, just to kind of get your own sense of it. And
Sure.
If you don't know, then reach out to an inspection company. You could call us. We'd be happy to help. Just reach out to them and have a discussion about the findings in the report, because you could tell if it's,
I got about 30 seconds for you.
Copy that.
One of your favorite stories that you've come across.
Put me on the spot here, Ron.
Always got to put you on the spot a little bit.
I get it. I love it. The thing, I'll just share this with you. The thing that I love most about what we do is we play a small part in a life story. Right. And I really want to draw people's attention to that is we show up at a life story, whether they're going up, coming down, increasing family size, whatever the case may be, we're on that radar, and it's our job to give them our best because they're depending upon us.
I love that. That's a great way of us closing out, because really that's been the mission of Ron Siegel Radio since we started in 2010, is to educate you as to what's going on in the marketplace. Even if you've waived your contingencies, be educated. If you got a great real estate professional, which you should if you're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, there's always ways to get out of a contract if you need to. And the idea here is don't get surprised a month in because you spent a lot of money to buy a house. And I don't care whether it's a $200,000 mobile home or a $2 million house or condo or a $3 or $4 million house on the beach. It's your castle. And what's really important there is that you go into it. It's a stressful time. Buying a house is stressful. And it doesn't matter to me how often you've done it. I've been around thousands of transactions. There's stress involved. If we can be educated, that removes some of the stress, because now you're going in there knowing what you're talking about. If you want to get in touch with Jeff Clark, Trident Inspection Group, give me a call at 800-306-1990.